Derech Eretz, that's why I thought to begin with this subject. I want to say something, and you can tell it to me if you agree or don't agree. Derech Eretz Chodmo L'Teira means that Derech Eretz is even, it doesn't mean in time. Derech Eretz is before Torah. It's even, in order to learn Torah, one has to have Derech Eretz. Where do we see Hafloga, where we see an extreme in this of Derech Eretz? Moshe Rabbeinu tells Am Yisrael that 40 days he did not eat or drink to receive the Torah. Why did Moshe not eat or drink 40 days to receive the Torah? The Gemara says something amazing about this. It says from here we learn that when you go in a place, you should accustom yourself like the customs of the place. It's not against the Torah. Since Moshe Rabbeinu was between the Malachim, and Malachim don't eat and drink, it didn't fit that Moshe Rabbeinu should sit there and eat and drink. It's not Derech Eretz. So the whole Kabbalas HaTorah, the Mesiras Nefesh, that Moshe Rabbeinu had to receive the Torah, was Mesiras Nefesh for Derech Eretz. And it's mashma, if he wouldn't have had this Mesiras Nefesh for Derech Eretz, that he couldn't have received the Torah. Derech Eretz Kodmo L'Torah. That simple Derech Eretz is a condition of Torah, because Derech Eretz is part of being a human being. Now, part of Derech Eretz, now I don't know the solution of this, but that's the machshava. Maybe it's not the place to say it. The mobile phones that we have, in my opinion, are a disgrace to the respect, created a disgrace to the respect of the tzelem of a kid, of a human being. I'm sitting in a bus, and I want to think of machshava. For example, a machshava of Torah. And a guy sits down next to me, big tzaddik, sits us out, and afterwards he's running this, and he's speaking on the phone with Kol Ram. I'm a human being. I'm not a pillar of stone. The people go in the street or wherever they are, speak on the phone. It doesn't make a difference who's next to them or anything. In my opinion, my humble opinion, who am I? But it would seem to me that this is a chisaron in Derech Eretz. Just we're so used to it that we don't think about it before. It's disrespectful to the other person. And I saw it in Mishnah Rav Aaron. I saw that he writes this thing. He was way before the mobile phones. He writes about different Derech Eretz. He says, if you're in amongst a group of people, you shouldn't do something to draw attention to yourself. Or speak loud. Because people have their own thoughts, their own ideas, their own agendas, and you're disturbing other people. There's such a thing in Shulchan Aruch, we have, in Baba Basra, we have Hilchas Niskei Shchenim, halachas of disturbing your neighbor, to harm your neighbor. If you are speaking loud next to somebody else, and that you're harming your neighbor, and disturbing him from his machshavas, this is Niskei Shchenim, you're harming him. You have Hezekriya, you're not allowed to do things, you can't be in a place where you disturb him because you're looking at him, things which he wants to do privately. You have a chiv to put a fence. All these things are lately in our generation. I don't know. Anyway, this is part of a hachana for Kabbalas HaTorah. We live in a generation, perhaps, before Mashiach comes, there's an attack on the Tzemach of the King. Because tonight, the condition to receive Torah is to be mechabed yourself and to be mechabed others. And perhaps this brings us back to what the halachas that we have in Sfiras Ha'omer. It says that why did the Talmidei Rabbi Akiva, the 24,000 Talmidim Rabbi Akiva, were nifta specifically in this time, and it says because of Leinogu Kavod Zeh B'Zeh. They weren't mechabed each other. Before Kavod, and this was a time of Kvod HaTorah, Kvod Talmid Chacham. But before Kvod Talmid Chacham, there's a concept of Kvod Habrius, just the kavod of another human being, to respect the rights of another human being. That's I go back to where I began. The mobile telephones where you speak as if nobody else exists is an attack on human dignity. If somebody disagrees, I'm ready to hear. I think we're so used to it that we don't even realize It's disrespectful. You speak you're next to a person, you speak loud in his ears almost like it does, and he's not interested in your private things. It's this human being there. That's something to do in private, not when you're in public. And this goes in a lot of things. And there's also, it's connected with respect to oneself. The Gemara says, not only you have to respect somebody else, maybe today we've lost the concept of self-respect. The Gemara says that Rebbe, and everybody knows this halacha, but it's an interesting reason that the Gemara gives, that the Mefarshim learn. That Rebbe, when he was Mikabel, when he said Shema Yisrael, everybody knows, he put his hands over the eyes. Why did he put his hand over the eyes? So the Rishonim give the Aruch gives a very interesting reason. He says that because one has to, they explain, one has to be Mamlech HaKadosh Baruch Hu, on when you say Echad, so you're supposed to think in the Chesed Echad, and the 7 heavens and the earth, and the Daled, 4 Ruchas HaOlam. So Rebbe, in order to think that he's Mamlech HaKadosh Baruch Hu in every place, say he would move his eyes down, up and down, and up and this, and it's a strange movement. So he covered that people shouldn't see him making this strange movement, because he wanted to be Mamlich HaKadosh Baruch Hu on Daled Ruchas HaOlam and Shemayim V'Aretz. It was Kvoi Atzmi, self-respect. Person shouldn't do something strange in public. It's this, he's not respecting himself. So here he's doing, when you say, no, the greatest mitzvah, Mamlich HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I have to look what people are going to look at me. I'm now doing the greatest mitzvah. What do I care what people look? To the contrary, Mamlich HaKadosh Baruch Hu. No. It has to be noyeg, even when he's Moshe Rabbeinu, when he's receiving the Torah, is Moshe Nefesh not to eat and drink 40 days. It's not derech eretz to the malachim. Rebbe's being Mamlich HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and he covers his eyes. It's not covered. Think about his own covet when he's giving covet Shemayim. It's not the time to think of his own covet. There's a din of Tzuras HaAdam, even derech eretz klapi oneself, and all this goes into. We're in the time of preparing to receive the Torah. That's Tzuras HaAdam. Derech eretz kadmu l'Torah. Hilchas derech eretz even before the Torah. Where do we see the epitome of this? It says if a person is oichel b'shuk. This too, all these things. We live in a generation. There's no respect. The whole thing is forgotten. Ha'oichel b'shuk. If somebody eats in public, in the marketplace, he's posel la'edis. Unbelievable. What did he do wrong? Was it written in the Torah? Posel la'edis. We don't accept witness from him. Why? He's bechazaka to be a Russian. What's the pshat? What's the connect? Who would say such a strange thing today? What's the pshat in this thing? A person eats in public, and he's posel la'edis. Find me in the Torah. Where does it say don't eat in public? Which pasuk is it in? Which Aveira did he do? Where's it written? Where's it written? So what's the pshat? It says that the whole purpose that HaKadosh Baruch Hu spoke to Am Yisrael directly, one of the purposes is it should be Yiras Hashem al Pneichem Leviti Techto. The Yirah of HaKadosh Baruch Hu should be on your face that you shouldn't come to sin. It means that one should have boishis panim. One should have busha, to be embarrassed. The Gemara goes to the extreme that says, Kol mi she'ein lo busha. If somebody says, I'm not ashamed, that's me. Somebody that doesn't have embarrassment, he doesn't have the midah abusha, v'yodua shelo omdu avoiso al har Sinai. If he doesn't have busha, his fathers weren't at Har Sinai. Unbelievable. Because the purpose, the Torah says the purpose of Har Sinai is that Am Yisrael should have the midah boishis panim. Shloisha simonim b'umezu. 3 simonim in Kedushas Yisrael. And one of them is, what is it? What are the 3 simonim? By Shonim, they have the midas habusha. A goy doesn't have busha. A yid has to have busha. Rachamim, a goy zachzor, he doesn't have the pain of the other one. A yid has mercy, can't see somebody else in pain. Rachmanim, goy moy chasodim. The Jews invented the concept of philanthropy, of charity. Stocker. The Jews brought stocker to the world. Goy moy chasodim. Chesed. Those are the 3 simonim. And you'll find that even a Jew who's assimilated and very, very far away, you find that the Jews most furthest away, but comes to philanthropy, who are the heads? Jews. They're at the heads of all sorts of different things. It might be for the Negroes in Africa, not for Jews, but for some kind of chesed, because it's in the genes of a Jew. Chesed. I'll call upon him, getting back to busha. If the person, one of the main preventives of a person to do an Aveda is that he had busha. Either he feels a zilzal in himself or he's embarrassed from others. If the person doesn't have busha, so he's missing a main preventive of doing Aveda. Busha is not hypocrisy. We're infiltrated by all sorts of... I'm not a hypocrite. Only because I'm ashamed, I'll do it, I won't be ashamed. The tzavua, the person that's hypocrisy is a very good midah from the point of Chacham. Hypocrisy. It's a good midah because it means he respects. He's not on the madrega, but he recognizes that this is something good, something correct. He's not holding there, but he recognizes it. So he's ashamed in front of others. So this hypocrisy, he wants others to see. He's giving value to the right thing. So that's busha. Busha is a positive element. So we get back. If a person eats in public, that means he doesn't respect himself. He doesn't look at others. He doesn't care what others think about him, how others see him. So it's sure, if he doesn't have this preventive, it's sure that he does Aveirus, which gets the name Rosh. Ad Kedei Kach. The Chachamim said that it's a chazaka, that if he doesn't have self-respect, that means he doesn't have this natural preventive of Aveirus, respect. He's certainly doing Aveirus, which passes in Tevis. Unbelievable. The Chachamim saw that he's missing in this midah of derech eretz, he's becheskas rosha. So from here we learn that a person that one of the hachonis, in other words, who received the Torah in Hasinai? Atzuris Adam. The Torah was given to an Adam. Zois HaTorah Adam Ki Onis Bo'er. So one of the preparation to receive the Torah is to be mechabed yourself and to be mechabed others. That's the first hachana for Torah. Derech eretz, that goes into the principle derech eretz kodma the Torah. The derech eretz and the derech eretz to others and derech eretz to oneself. This is a hachana for Kabbalas HaTorah. As I go back again, why to speak about it b'chlal such a pasha to zay, but perhaps this goes into what Chazal say, ikvis in the Mashiach chutz v'yaskei. Let's maybe put it like this. The whole kufa of Mashiach, you can say it in a mystical way. It says before something comes, before a tikkun, correction comes to the world, there's the extreme of the opposite. The whole tikkun of Mashiach, the whole name of Mashiach, Mashiach represents the Adam who's the shleimus of Tzelem Elokim. When this pasuk speaks about Mashiach coming, it speaks about Bar Inish, Ben Adam. You know where Mashiach is hinted? In which word? The word Adam. How? You have Aleph, Daled, Mem. The first man is called Adam. That's Aleph. The second man, who he represents, the Tzelem Elokim, that he's the Garin, the seed of the future, of the perfection of man, is David HaMelech. That's the Daled. David. And the third one, which will come to bring the Shleimus Adam to the Bria, is Mashiach Ben David. That's the man. Adam is Rashi Tevis. Adam, David, Mashiach. Mashiach comes to bring the world to the Shleimus of the Tzelem Elokim. So before Mashiach comes, Ikvis of the Mashiach, that's Chutzpah Yaskeh. The Chutzpah is the destruction of the Tzelem Elokim, the Chayvah. Before Mashiach comes, there's an enormous attack on the whole Tzelem Elokim. So if we want to prepare the way for Mashiach, we have to be noyek, to be mischazik in all those things which is a Tzelem Elokim. We live in a world with a constant, that's where it's connected with the preachers, where there's no busha whatsoever, where people go undressed. All this is an attack. It's not just taiva, it's an attack on the k'vod ha'adam. They've turned, what is man? Man is a type of min, it's a type of species. It's a species. And that was the intention, Rachmana litzlan. What was the concept when they, in Germany, when they put a number on a human being? What was it to say? To turn man into nothing. He's a number. When you read in the Torah, in Ma'aseh Bereishis, so you have have everything, every species that Hashem created, it's called in the Torah. Something fascinating, if you look at the Psukim in Bereshis. Every species that Hashem created, it says in the Torah calls it the species. Each one, here, let's go, Yom Shlishi. Let's begin the Yom Shlishi. So it says, Yom Shlishi, it says the Mina. Here, Ataytze Yoretz, the Minei. Zarei Ba'etzai Sepri, the Minei. What's the Minei? Two species. Each one, the Minei. Then you have a Yom Chamishi as well. Yom Chamishi. Yishrutzu Amayim, Sheretz Nefesh Chaya, Goyviyah, Bezaros, the Minei, their species. Oif Konav, each one in its own species. The Minei. Toitze Yoretz, Nefesh Chaya, the Mina. Yom Shishi, the behemoths, Limino, species. And the Rebbeinu Shalom made Chayes Eretz, Limino. It's a behemoth, Limino. Two its species. Remes Adoma, the crawling creatures, Limineo. Yom Elokim Nasa Adam. Nowhere does it say on the Adam, Limineo, the species. The species of Homo sapien doesn't exist. There's no such species. Man is not a species. He's not an advanced animal. He's not a species. Ha'adam nivra yechidi. And that's what the Mishnah says. Chayav adam oy loyma v'shvili nivra oylom. That a ma'abed nefesh achas is ki'ilu. If somebody causes the loss of one human being, it's ki'ilu, he destroyed the whole world. V'amatzil nefesh achas mi Yisrael ki'ilu hitzil oylom molei. Because man is yechidi. Every man is yechidi. And when the Nazis put a number, that was the biggest hashpah. They say, this is the Jews, this is a min, it's a species. Number one, number two, how many people do you have? Every Adam is a Yechidi. And every Adam, what does it mean that an Adam is a Yechidi? That every Adam has a specific tachlis, a specific mission in this world that only he can accomplish, and nobody before could accomplish that mission, nobody after him. He has his specific portion in the revelation of Kvod Shemayim. And that's the Tzelem Otim. And this is, before Mashiach comes, that's the Kvod HaAdam, is to recognize that each Adam is an individual with an individual neshama from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's where the Kvod HaAdam comes from. There is no concept by an animal of covet. We say, try to insult an animal. Try it. Try to get him insulted. He worked on his midas, he doesn't get insulted. The kids, we try to give cover. I would say, the dog saved the baby, so they made a big party, they put the dog on the business, they put the dog. So he's very, very much inspired by sitting on the business. The kavod, the concept of kavod is shaykh to the neshama. And only that, he's the reason why man senses kavod, because he has a neshama chelam. That's why the kinui, the Mani is a Mercha Chavay, the Pasuk called, David HaMelech says, Ura Chvaydi Ura. The whole Chvayda Adam is connected to the Neshama. And the Mela Hu Adin, when you mechabed an Adam, you mechabed his Neshama. And you insult the person, or you don't mechabed him, it's a Pegia, it's a direct Pegia in the Nishmas HaAdam, the Chvayda Adam. And to be mechabed the Neshama, this is a Achana for Torah, because the Torah is shaykh to the Neshama. So that's one subject. One subject.
So what type of eating in the shuk is a problem? You go to a restaurant, it's not a problem.
Restaurant is okay.
I understood that even if you don't eat bread,
I believe there's different madregas. If you go to a restaurant, you sit next to the window, maybe you are sitting, maybe you are at the shuk. I'm not paskin in being there, but you know what I mean? You have restaurants where you sit outside. This summer they sit outside, and so you are, in the sentence that you are a little bit in the shul. I'm not paskin in ask your local rabbi, halacha l'maisa. We're speaking the concept.
Is it also just eating bread is the big problem? Eating bread?
Halachically, the concept is that each one the feeding. Halachically, which passes the eight is. So this, like everything, the special halachas could be it's only bread and meat. But the concept, the madregas, like everything, there's madregas. There's chassidas. There's all sorts of madregas. Next subject. Zois ha-teire odom ki yom misparo. What is it? I want to speak basic things which are connected with Teire. It says, Ein divrei Teire miskaimin ele b'mi shemeimis atzmai b'ola sheteire. Teire, a kachona for Teire, needs the midah of meimis atzmai. What is the meaning of meimis atzmai? What do you mean to make himself die? So, that's it. The emes is that I want to take a different notion, which the languages really contradict each other, but they'll fit to explain a third language. It says like this, there's a sefer called Eden Shleimo that brings all sorts of statements from the Gra. And it's very, very famous, this statement. Ika chiyut ha'adam, the main chiyut of the human being. Why is a person alive in this world? For what purpose did a person come to this world? You know what for? Let's go back to another Chazal for a second. At the end of Ma'aseh Bereishis, it says like this: Vayar Elokim es kol asher osa. Hashem, the whole world that He created. And you know, on each individual thing it says in Ma'aseh Bereishis, Vayar Elokim, He looked at it after it was created. What did He see? Toiv. Oh, very good. Ki toiv. It's good. And here it says even more than toiv. Vayar Elokim es kol asher osa. He looked at everything and He saw not only that it's toiv, but it's what else? Toiv ma'oid. It's very good. Says Chazal, what's very good? Good is the Yetzer Toiv. Very good is the Yetzer Hara. Opposite of our thinking. We think that good, very good is the Yetzer Hara. Yetzer Hara is bad. It's not good at all. Come Chazal and say, Yetzer Toiv, that's good. Yetzer Hara, that's very good. That's Toiv ma'oid. He saw that He created the Yetzer Hara. He said, that's Toiv ma'oid. It's the best thing in the world. How is the Yetzer Hara the best thing in the world? Teretz is because that's the whole purpose that a person comes to this world, to fight with the Yetzer Hara. If he wouldn't have the Yetzer Hara, it could be a malach. It could say as an Hashem or a malach. The Hashem doesn't have to come into a guf. The whole purpose that Hashem put an Hashem into the guf is because in the guf there's a Yetzer Hara. So that's Toiv ma'oid because it's the purpose of life. And the Gra says this in different words. Ika chiyus ha'odam hu shviras hamidus. Was to break his midah. Wasn't to break his midah? To go against his ratzon. There are people that live 120 years and never did anything in life against their will. You ever see a child making a nervous tantrum, a temper tantrum because he doesn't get his way? Some people, every adult as a child can also have a temper tantrum and say he has to get his way. You know? And though the Gra says the opposite. Every time a person does something against his will, that's chai. That's chai. That's chai. It's chai. Why is a person alive? Mishpor et hamida asher loy shavar adheinu. To break the midah that he didn't break till now. If he doesn't break his midah, so he doesn't do anything in life against his will, lama loy chayim. He has no purpose to be alive. Life is meaning of life, purpose of life, and that's toiv ma'oid. And that's called life, is doing something against his will. Rav Dessler writes, every day a person should be makbid, at least once a day, to do something which is against his will. It could be in chesed, it could be in limud ha-Torah. Perhaps that's the pshat we say at the end of Shemona Esrei. Ki nasata b'ki ba'or ponecha, in the light of your face. Ha'or is ponim, that's chayim. Ba'or pnei melech chayim. The ha'or is ponim of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is chayim. Ki ba'or ponecha nasata lonu chayim va'avas chesed. Teiras chayim and avas chesed, these two midas are ba'or ponecha. When are they ba'or ponecha? When it comes to shviras hamidus. The person just does his habit of what's good for him. Shviras hamidus is chayim. Now let's go back again. But it says Zois ha-Teira Adam ki yom misparo. Ein divrei Teira miskayim is v'misha meimis atzmo. So how do you get meimis atzmo? And you have to be meimis atzmo. You have to be chai. The Teretz is Teira is chayim. When is it chayim? When he's meimis atzmo. What is meimis atzmo? Shviras hamidus. The midas of a person are part of his life. When a person breaks his rotzen, it's as if he's killing part of himself. It's not a killing part of himself because the rotzen comes from his life. comes from him. When a person breaks his rotzen, he feels as if he's killing himself. He's meimis atzmai. But melech meimis u'mechayeh. The misa which a person is meimis atzmai for the melech malchim nochim HaKadosh Baruch Hu to do the ratzon Hashem, that misa is mechayeh. That's melech meimis u'mechayeh. That's making HaKadosh Baruch Hu an adon over himself. And that's the language it says in the Gemara in Maseches Tamid, the Lamed Aleph on the base. Look over there. Ritzoncha shaloi tamus. If you don't want to die, mois ad shaloi tamus. There is something like that. Mois, die before you die. In other words, you die before you die. So one of the pshat is shbirat haratzon. And that's a kinyan in Torah. That's what it was when Chazal say, ein divrei Torah miskaimin el misha meimis atzmai alaha. That's what the Chazal means. Timtzav eretz achai. That you won't find Torah who wants to be chai. If he wants to be chai according to his way, the way he wants it, his rotzon, his comfort, like there you don't find Torah. The eretz achayim, those that want to live comfortably, that's not where Torah is to be found. Torah has a tanai, has a condition that a person shviras harotzon. It doesn't mean that in every midah, if a person breaks a midah of kapeda on somebody, he breaks his kavod to be mechabed somebody. Everything that a person does against his rotzon, that's a kinyan in Torah. Now, this kufa specifically, that's I want to repeat from Avraham Kotler, that this, the Talmidei Rebbe Akiva, it's not a mikra, I say it every year, it's not a coincidence or stam maise shahoya kachoya, that all these 24,000 Talmidim died in this period between Pesach and Atzeres. The reason was because they had a mission, these Talmidim. Their mission was, as the Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva, to give over the Torah to the future generations. And when they were Nogu Kovetz Zeh, according to their Madrega, this was a defect in Kinyonim of Torah. And therefore they weren't, in the eyes of the Ashkocha, of the Bari Olam, they could no longer be the Shluchim, the messengers, to give over the Torah to the future. And Hashem took them away. Why in this period? Because this is the period that Am Yisrael is mechuyav to prepare themselves to receive the Torah. The Torah was given on Shavuos, and Klal Yisrael historically they prepare themselves for Kabbalas HaTorah in this era, and for all generations, this is the tkufa that we prepare ourselves for Torah. Preparation for Torah is in all those things which give a kinyan of Torah. Therefore, specifically in this time, if Einon Divrei Torah Miskaimin, that this is a T'nai in Kinyan HaTorah, so more than the whole year, a person has to practice something of Shviras HaRotzon in this Kufa, the Torah. And that's why the Talmidei Akiva were taken away, because they were missing in Kinyan. He explains, because one of the Kinyani Torah, for example, says, Ein Divrei Torah niknes ela b'chabura. Torah can't be achieved as a yochid. It has to be in a chabura. And chabura means that when it has respect for the other one. A chabura where there isn't the proper respect is not a chabura. You can have 1,000 people, 10 people sitting in a room. If the 10 people have respect for each other, then it's 10. Then it's a minyan, it's a tzibur. But if there's no respect, so it's 10 individuals which just geographically, coincidentally happen to be in the same room, but it's not 10 people together. It's not called a chabura. A tanai, a condition in chabura is that they respect each other. Where there's no respect, there's no unity. So they were not. And Hashem saw that in the end, Rabbi Akiva had 5 Talmidim. And those 5 Talmidim, he told them, Rabbi Akiva, what did he tell them? He said, you don't be like my 24,000 Talmidim. You should know that for Torah, not just for Bein Adam Chavei, that's for Torah. You don't make the mistake. And it says the Torah was almost nishkach, and these 5 Talmidim, they managed to do what 24,000 Talmidim were meant to do, because they had the midah of Haftarecha Kamecha. They accomplished the Klal Yisrael. They were the shluchim to give over the Torah instead of 24,000 Talmidim with the proper midas. That this is the koyach of having the proper midas shatayr niknisbah. So the hachana for Torah in this era, specifically at the time, avada for sure hasmada the Torah, not just learning Torah. It's the proper midas. The Rebbeinu Shalom preferred that the Torah should come to Klal Yisrael for 5 Talmidim instead of 24,000 if the midas are proper. He wanted that the Torah should be given over it means that Torah is not like a science. I'll just finish with this. Yerucham Lubavitz, the Mashgiach of Yeshivas Mir in Europe, said he once observed students coming into a university, and he saw the lightness and the lightheadedness. He says, and they get good marks on the tests. He says, if the yeshiva students would behave like the students in university, there's no way that they can know the Torah, because our Torah is something different. It's something ruchni. You could not. Science, you could be an excellent student and an excellent scholar with midas mishchosis, with bad midas. Torah doesn't lend itself without midas Torahs. Says that's the, you call it ein yira, ein chochma. Torah, to know Torah, we see God, we see also the kedusha of Torah. That one can't know Torah, one can't be the emet, the chacham of Torah with midas words. That's the kedusha of Torah, and that's what it says. That's what it says in Maseches Avos. Haskein atzmacha l'lmad Torah. A person has to prepare himself in order to learn Torah. The preparation for learning Torah is midot tovot, or if you want the language of the Gra, shvirat hamidot. The person should be muchan to lishbor ta midah shelo shavarei.
But if you love your neighbor as yourself, you work on loving, then that is your ratzon. So you're not going against your ratzon to treat him nicely.
It's a big madrega. You're right. If you don't have shviras amidas, you're right. It's true, and it's a good thing to love your neighbor. But without shviras amidas, sometimes your ratzon and his ratzon might be conflicting. And if you don't have the possibility of shviras amidas, somewhere at that point it's going to be a very big decision.
So one helps the other.
You need both. And the first negative is Ishvi
Koyach.